Hi, host Eric here, talking to family people, and I'm feeling bad for coming down on Jeff Chen like a ton of bricks when he started arguing in favor of China taking over Taiwan. It made me mad, and I really kind of like probably overreacted a little bit. And I just think that one possible topic to discuss is impulsive things, like making decisions impulsively and then regretting them. Um, which types that correlates with, and what to do about it as a general rule. And number two, the issue of how to deal with individuals engaging from cultures that are so starkly different in terms of what they prioritize in discourse. So, regarding that first issue of how individuals tend towards impulsiveness, I would argue that ENFP and ENTP are in the worst shape regarding that. Though possibly ESTP is similar, I'm not sure about that. My take on why ENTP and ENFP would be the worst is because with NE in the first slot and SE in the eighth slot, it's like SE is almost conscious, but it's got the looseness of unconsciousness, so that you don't really understand the process by which you come to take an action versus not take an action. You never really quite come to understand that process because it's not a consciously valued function. And then then the next point would be I got distracted by the chat. The next point would be I kind of not look at chat. So I don't know. But the point is about the other countries is you have these individuals coming into the world discourse. They're coming in without having been trained in basics of discourse, even that even the least trained American is trained in the basics of, like, well, if you can make that argument, I can make that argument too, right? Like that sort of thing, because the Chinese have been trained to prioritize conformity with positions of a specific group of individuals who self-identify as the hierarchy of the country, and have educated the country accordingly, and educated the country away from argumentation and parsing out of things as a virtuous activity unless it conforms to certain limits, which means, of course, you're not parsing it out at all because it's predetermined. So, but I'm afraid I probably discouraged him from engaging in discourse about it by shaming him quite so abundantly or unrestrainedly. So I don't know if I did anything good there, and I kind of regret it because I feel like by being so antagonistic, I probably undermined my ability to cause them to rethink their position at all. I don't know. It's hard to say. Thoughts?
Um, I mean, I think you need to do it lovingly. I think you need to like look at them as blind, not necessarily as like ignorant or they're wrong, obviously, but they're not wrong because they want to be wrong. They're wrong because what they're brought up in, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I
I've been
feel
over to China
bad.
before, and I've been over to Russia before. They definitely think like that. They definitely think communitarily. The group is definitely more important than the individual is. And you make decisions collectively. Chinese people, especially, don't even like making decisions. Period. Um, like if you want to ask them where they want to go for lunch or whatever, they don't even want to answer that. So they just kind of get fed things. I feel like their culture is one that is very easy to um, give information and then just readily accept it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I gotta be more restrained. I gotta do a better job of
I mean,
not
I don't know what
engaged. Well, I just said, what he was a scumbag and stuff like that. Because he's advocating that China should go and take over Taiwan and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I thought that
you
was
gotta refrain.
uncool.
Yeah, you
But
gotta refrain from ad hominem attacks. Like, it's the position that's bad. It's not the person that's bad.
yeah, I'm aware of that, not Hostmark. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
I do occasionally. I guess I just occasionally succumb to the temptation to just unleash some like you're a fucking scumbag because I mean if you to a certain point if you're arguing in favor of something that's just like yeah we should get to take over that country for no good reason at all but I know it's not fair it's not right I'm wrong to have done it and I feel guilty
Yeah, I mean, there's I don't know.
I feel guilty and
If the
dumb
first rule, if you go into like geopolitics or whatever, the first rule is love of one's own. Where if you're gonna look at a country and then see how it's gonna act, you have to look at the fact that a Chinese man is gonna love a Chinese man before he loves a Thai man or something like that. And or a German's gonna love a German before he loves a Frenchman, and they're gonna make decisions for those people. And so he's going to stick up for what his country wants over what he sees as I'm assuming, a rogue state that has separated and doesn't want to be part of mainland China.
but here's the problem with that argument is that I'm not guilty of that thing you're saying. I do not argue in favor of the U.S. Over some other country if I think the U.S. is doing the wrong thing. I evaluate each policy individually.
Right. But I think as a whole, if an American was dying in front of them versus a German was dying in front of them, and they were both calling for help, help me, the American's going to help the American first.
Okay, maybe. I mean, I think there's a lot of variables to consider. What if it's like a little girl but an old man American and a little girl German? I think most people would save the little girl.
Right. I mean, yeah, there definitely are considerations to be had. But I mean, I think as a whole, that's something.
Hi, INFJ Ken. We're talking about how I went a little overboard with poor Jeff Chen.
I had seen the video.
I feel bad about it now and I regret it, but I don't like to take down my mistakes. It's sort of a general rule. So then I just sweep. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm sweeping. Doing curling sweeping.
Yeah, that's the second part of your question, right? What to do about an impulsive decision that you've made.
Yeah. Well, who does anybody else have? See, the eyes are probably not going to have the issue with impulsiveness that I have. It's something I've actually gotten a lot better about, but I still indulge in it apparently occasionally.
Give an example of something that you would do that's impulsive. I don't know.
Like what I just did. Like the video where I teased Chad for his ENTP advice video. Like the video I just made for Jeff Chen. I didn't need to slam Jeff Chen that bad. I didn't need to get so mad in the comments either. I don't know. I was in a bad mood when I read that comment and I just, I don't know.
It takes so much for me to express my anger verbally that when I was watching you, I thought you were joking at first. Because it's just kind of, yeah, you were talking about the eyes not really struggling with the impulsiveness as much.
I mean, was I mad? I mean, I was that kind of mad, right? Where it's like I'm doing that thing. It's not exactly that I'm mad so much as I'm doing that thing where I rant about something.
Could have been Jeff Chen, could have been coffee tables, could have been anything if you're in that mood.
Yeah, it seems like that maybe. Anyway, it was Jeff Chen instead of coffee tables this time. So.
I mean, would you do that if he was in front of you?
I mean,
Imagine looking at his sweet face.
Yeah, potentially. If it would take longer for the argument to get there. it takes less long for it to get there in chat in comments because the thing that pissed me off about it and made me want to slam him was the tone, which was of the outraged school mistress being offended at the behavior of somebody on manners grounds, mostly, And I was just like, oh, fuck no, I'm going to get as unmannerly as I can,
Is there a video of this? Did you post it?
Which one?
Whatever
There's a
conversation.
he put comments up on an old video of mine that's been up for a while that gets comments from Chinese nationals. And it's this one where I'm talking with a Chinese national student about Taiwan and China as an issue, because the reason I'm talking about this shit is because China's the policy debate topic area. And there's a challenge with this policy debate topic, which is you can't fiat China. So if you say, oh, well, we're going to do unilateral engagement with China, we're going to give them something or offer them something, then they can just say, China's just going to take it and give us nothing back in return. You can't fiat what China does in response. And we have good reason to think China won't do anything positive in response. So that makes it a challenge to come up with with plain texts for the topic. So one of my solutions to this is the Recognize Taiwan app, which says this is engaging China diplomatically because China claims that Taiwan is part of China. We claim it's not, but regardless, we're engaging China diplomatically, and if we affirm the resolution successfully, then we won't any longer be dealing with China. Then we'll be dealing with Taiwan. But at the moment, we're dealing with China, and the way we deal with them is to affirm Taiwan's independence from China. So that's why I end up talking about this thing, is for simple debate reasons, right? It's not like I went out on the prowl, the hunt for a topic that people would get upset about or anything. I was shocked when Jasmine, the student, revealed how brainwashed she was. I was shocked. And basically making the same arguments as Jeff Chen, like saying, well, we can't talk about that. No. It's not win-win. It's not, you're trying to make it win-lose. We're trying to find a way that everybody wins. But basically they're saying, look, let's assume we take over Taiwan, and don't worry, we're going to take it over real nice. And I'm like, no, fuck you. You're not going to argue from that ground. That's bullshit. You're assuming that, okay, yeah. No, you're wrong for interfering because we're not trying to do any harm. We're trying to take over Taiwan real nice. Well, fuck you with that argument. That's not going anywhere.
Oh, it reminds me of a trust us. We're totally not going to do anything wrong here.
Right. We're just going to take over all the means of power.
Well, practically they can't. But besides that, I get the point of the argument itself is a poor one to be had. But on top of that, the reason China needs to do that is because they're worried about self-imploding themselves. Like, they're worried about them losing integrity. Like, the Cantonese hate the Mandarins, and the Mandarins hate the Cantonese, and you have revolts that go from the interior to the exterior every so often. That's what Mao did. He gathered up peasants from the interior and attacked the exterior. If you look at...
Also, don't forget, the Mantonese hate the Kandarin.
That is very, very true.
Yeah.
But if you look at how China spends its money, Shanghai, the reason they're communist is like they gather the money because they have to distribute it or else they're going to self-implode. So they have to give money to the interior because the coast is really rich. And then they spend all this money on police forcing, on internet, shutting down certain websites and whatnot, internet policing, word policing. And the reason they need to do that is because they're worried about self-imploding themselves, which would cause millions and millions of deaths. And that's what they're worried about.
Well, they have all these pointless jobs. That's the thing. They've got hundreds of millions of pointless jobs that aren't doing anything.
And most of them make less than $6 a day. The ones that you see like on television, like China's so rich, that's 60 million people out of the 1 point whatever billion people that live there, 1.3 I think. It's a very small portion of people. The rest of the people are very poor.
Yeah, I've been to China, but I've only been to Shanghai, but I went inland just about 50 or 60 miles, or I don't know how many miles it was, but it's about an hour on the train or something. and it's a place called Wuxidong, and it's a city with nobody living there. Okay, and they are building 100 skyscrapers. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
They're building 100 skyscrapers. They're building all the infrastructure for a wholly developed city before anybody lives there. Before there's any, without any demand for the housing, right? But they think, well, we can forcibly move people there, or I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I assume they just want infrastructure to be moved into the interior to make sure that they're happy, that they stay happy, and they can move people there so they stay happy, rather than working in a rice paddy or something like that, or in a sweatshop where they make American goods, which is like the whole deal. Like, if we got in a conflict with them and we stopped buying all their stuff, like, they would implode. They would have a revolt. That's why they keep giving us money. They don't expect us to pay it back. They just want us to keep buying their stuff. Like, it's a very precarious situation that they're in. They're not in a good situation at all.
Well, they're engaging in an unsustainable economic model is the problem. They keep investing in infrastructure as a means of growing the economy, but it's artificial, right? Yeah, it generates the work. Yeah, it generates stuff, but it's not purposed by the economy itself. So it's definitionally a bubble.
Yeah, but the capitalist system is also a bubble. It's a periodic bubble. It's a sustained bubble. It's a bubble that we
What
that
do
we
you call
need
a capitalist system?
What do I call a capitalist system?
I mean, you use the term the capitalist system is also a bubble. I described a specific economic mechanism that China is utilizing to sustain its economy that creates a construction and property bubble. And the reason why it does is because it's not driven by the free market. Why then are you saying the free market is necessarily a bubble as well? Or you're not saying the free market, you're saying something else?
Well, the free market has to have ups and downs. If it doesn't have downs, it's not going to work. Like, it's designed to do that.
Well, I mean, it has ups and downs if you look at it from a macro level. From a micro level, it has individuals engaging in varying degrees of success at various times in their life.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's a bubble, though. Okay, well, regardless, I think in the future, as I encounter these individuals, I'm going to take a different approach. I think the benefit of having overreacted this time is that I was ready to reflect on it and have it influence my behavior in the future, probably. I hope. We'll see. One can never predict exactly, but.
What was the third part to your question? There was another part to it. It was like what to do once you have an impulsive action that you've made.
Oh, well, right. In that instance, I think the answer is to sweep, to generate more. Like, if it's a video, it's to generate more videos and to talk specifically about having made that impulsive decision, so that basically you establish that you considered it, taking it seriously, because you recognize that it wasn't necessarily the best decision, and you're being honest with yourself and others about that. If you're going to leave that first one up, then you should have another video that follows up and goes, okay, well, actually, I think I may have gotten a little feisty unnecessarily here, right? I think that's the best thing you can do, is to just sort of concede when you're wrong and try to move on. And if you get called out on it, I just point out to this video and say, yeah, I know. My bad. It disarms any who might try to use your mistakes against you in some way.
Like, what type do you think is the least impulsive? Who's like the most methodical about what they do?
That's a good question.
Probably a J type.
I would say maybe ISTJ or ISTP. Somebody with any in the 7th slot. They're going to be the least impulsive. ISTJ or ISTP?
Okay.
Does ISTJ have any in the 7th? Is that right?
I thought it would be the 8th. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. Who else has NI in the 3rd slot besides ISTP?
I shut myself to Google.
ISTJ.
Any in the 3rd slot?
NI in the 3rd slot.
Oh, NI in the 3rd slot.
ISTJ has extroverted intuition in the 4th slot. And what were you asking about? Their 7th? Extroverted feeling?
Extroverted intuition. He's wondering who's got NI in the 3rd slot.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who's got any in the 7th slot besides. I know one of the people who does is ISTP, and I'm not sure who the other one is.
Adorable Cloud says ISFP.
ISFP?
Yes, the ISFP.
Okay, well then, those two types, in my opinion, would be the least impulsive. Because they've got any in the 7th slot, which means they are just not at all about possibilities. I think jumping at a possibility is what it means to be impulsive. To see a possibility, have it loom large in front of you and say, walk down me, I'm a good path, and then just to do so, then in that case, that would be impulsivity. And for that to happen, you've got to be in the habit of examining a bunch of possibilities. For one possibility to jump out at you as an especially desirable one, or to one that prompts action particularly, requires you to cycle through a bunch of possibilities regularly. I don't think ISFP or ISTP do that. Okay, SE impulsiveness, that's a good point. I think SE impulsiveness manifests
I think it manifests kind of like inspiration if you have SE as your 3rd or 4th function. Like if you don't have very strong SE, like or if it's in your 3rd or 4th slot, or if you have it as like the flip, then you're going to need inspiration to do things, especially if you're like an introvert intuitive.
What about ESTP though? They're impulsive.
They like to do things for the experience of it, though. There's like a thought behind it. I don't think it's impulsive. It's like, I want to try that. I want to do that.
Okay, so they just make bad decisions, but they aren't impulsive decisions? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There's a reason for it.
They make well-reasoned bad decisions.
Right.
They're well-thought lemmings. They don't dive off before thinking about it first.
Right, okay. Well, the thing about that is, with the SE in the 1st slot, and then you have NE in the 8th slot, which means you're pretty good at possibilities. It's just kind of loosely affixed, right? It's unconscious, and you roll into possibilities without really a good sense of what you're doing or how you got there. You don't actually understand the possibility evaluation process. It just sort of happens without your awareness. And the action process is the part you understand, which one you take action on, which one you don't take action on, how to take action. That would be the process that you consciously understand. So it would seem to me that NE in the 1st slot, SE in the 8th slot, and SE in the 1st slot, NE in the 8th slot is going to display kind of similarly in terms of well, maybe not. I mean, I guess I would say the SE Dom is likely to not consider all the possibilities as clearly as the NE Dom is. And so it's likely to take action on one that's less well considered, which is, I guess, basically what is being said here, that it's a less well considered decision, but it's more decisive. And I think that's a good distinction to make. Okay, other thoughts on this impulsiveness and why Eric does stupid shit? That's basically the title of this. Why does stupid shit and what he does about it afterwards?
It's a good learning process.
That's right. It's a learning process. Chalk that one up to experience. Jeff Chen, I consider you a teachable moment for me. I'm not sure you enjoyed it, but I learned. Is that consolation? I don't know if it is or not. Okay, well, thanks for watching Talk with Dennis Who.